like to call the meeting to order. If you would stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, if you would also, during your moment of silence, remember Nancy Thornton. Nancy and her husband John ran the Penguin Tap here in Peoria Heights for many years, and her services will be next week.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome everyone. Welcome everyone who's watching at home as well. Madam Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Trustee DeVore?
Present.
Trustee Gett?
Present.
Trustee Kazam?
Present.
Trustee Marfell?
Present.
Trustee Wigginton?
Present.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Present.
All right, everyone here, good to see everyone. Next is approval of the meeting minutes from October 26, 2021. I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we'll be at comments from the audience. If anyone would like to address the board, please come forward to the podium and give your name and address, and try and keep your remarks under 5 minutes. Comments going once, twice. Comments from the audience are closed. We would be at old business. Any old business to come before the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll get right into new business. The first is Administration and Finance. Trustee DeVore, do you have some things you'd like to talk about before we get to the resolution?
Absolutely. So I just wanted to update everybody that the Chamber's Chris Kringle Market on Friday was an absolute success. Village Hall, the Tower Park was completely full of people. I think it was wonderful. All these kids were filling out their little letters to Santa. So the Chamber put in a lot of work, and it was a very big success, and I'm hopeful that it can continue to move forward and be successful for them. On Saturday, the Santa Walk and Santa being around town was also really great. The Santa mailbox will stay up until December the 12th, so if anyone hasn't gotten their Santa letters in, they can still do that. And then the last event that we have going on for the holiday is the Light the Heights event, which will be judged during this week, and then on Sunday the 12th, the winners will be announced, and you'll be able to watch that live through the Peoria Heights Chamber Facebook page.
Thank you, and thanks to Public Works for having the park looking good, and thank you for filling in for me. I was here for a while, and I agree with your comments, and I had to leave early, so thank you for taking care of things. We would be at approval of ordinance 2021-1666, an ordinance creating an additional Class A1 liquor license. I would ask for a motion to approve that.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-1668.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, before we get into discussion, welcome, gentlemen. Would you come forward and tell us who you are and about your concept? I'm excited about it.
Hi, I'm Kip Rodier. I'm one of the owners of the 33 room at the Pabst building right down the street here on Prospect. We're looking to open the 33 room, have a full cocktail menu as well as beers on tap. We will have Pabst on tap as well. And we're also proud to showcase the proud history before their closure in '82 beforehand. So,
I'm Dustin Crawford. I'm the other co-owner. The two of us want to really connect the history of the room to people today, let them know what was here, what got this particular city up and running to the speed it was at the time, and really put in some deep roots. And we hope to continue that tradition of building the city up and do our part to help out as we create a community of different services down there.
Great. Thank you so much for your efforts. We look forward to patronizing your establishment. Any questions? Any comments? Anyone? Council, we're just adding a license here, correct? That's all we're doing?
Just adding another A1 license, and then you're the liquor commissioner. You get to issue licenses to worthy applicants, so that part will come after tonight.
Okay.
I'm just curious, what will your hours of operation be, and when will you open? I know you have events in there now.
right. Right now, we plan to be open Thursday through Sundays. We're going to be available for private rentals. So Friday and Saturday nights, the hours will be 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Thursday nights, the hours will be 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., as well as Sunday night will be 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. We might have some brunch offerings on Sundays. We'll probably have some lunch rentals during the day, but that'd just be a couple hours.
What's the
So-
capacity of that room?
I'm sorry?
What's the capacity?
We're saying about 40 right now. 40 fills it
I'm
up
just
really
curious.
good.
Yeah.
Make sure you get that right. The fire chief is sitting over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
yeah, and
questions?
if we don't
No
have any
pressure.
private rentals, we do plan to just open to the public for those set hours as well.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Gett? Aye. Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Marfel?
Aye.
Trustee Wigginton?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Congratulations and good luck. And Mike Bailey, will you get with these gentlemen when you can? And all right. Good thing it passed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time, and WMBD actually came down and interviewed us yesterday at Well. That'll air tomorrow night at 10, as well as Thursday morning. WBCU did Bradley did a radio interview with us today as well, so there should be a lot of good press coming out soon.
Good.
So thank you.
Congratulations.
Very much.
All right. Anything else, Trustee DeVore?
No, Mayor, that is all.
Okay. We would be at Public Works. Trustee Marfel, do you have anything to update before we get to go?
Yes, I'll let Mike, he's got a few things he can update on you.
Just a couple things we did. We closed Forest Park Drive Hill this past Thursday, cleaned up a lot of the leaves and a lot of trash. I just reiterate, please don't throw your trash out on the hill. That's a big no-no up there. And the weather's nice, so there's no snow. I know everybody's missing that, but the street sweeper is still going to be out and about during the nice weather. And we obtained the property from Illinois American Water down there on Galena Road, so we're gonna get things going and get things mowed and get a road in there so we can dump and do different things down there. So I'm really excited about that. So I don't know if Chris got anything, water, freezing?
Just the only thing I can say is it's going to be really cold, and once again, watch for freezing pipes and take care of those issues if you have them in the past. Pay attention to them, and it's going to get cold, so pipes are going to freeze if you don't leave your water running slightly. Can help a lot.
Good. Thank you. Go ahead, Trustee Marfel. We have a discussion about compliance with EPA standards.
I'm going to take my mask off so I can be heard loud and clear. So yeah, I want to take a few minutes and give a overview of what happened. The village water system recently received a non-compliant EPA violation. I just want to take a few minutes and go over that, and discuss some things. Supplying water for public consumption in the state of Illinois, it's mandated by the EPA. I think we all know what EPA stands for. There's a set of guidelines and regulations that must be followed, and accountability of those guidelines and regulations are done through the process of daily, monthly, quarterly, and yearly samples. And each water sample has a standard or a level that they should not exceed. If there is a sample that exceeds those standards, then a violation to that particular water system could be issued. Violations are issued through a tiered process. It's Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 3 being the less serious violation, and Tier 1 being the most serious. And then based on that tier that your violation falls under, that predicts the action that you are required to take. Tier 2 and Tier 3 notification by mail is acceptable. Tier 1 notification by phone or TV or direct delivery is required. Our last violation prior to this most recent one was 2006. We take pride in providing safe water to our residents, and I think our history with the EPA proves that. We had a quarterly manganese sample that was collected at the end of August. We were notified, when I say we, Superintendent Chandler was notified by PDC Laboratories that the particular sample was high, and they asked for 3 more samples spread out over a period of time to get an average. And then it takes each sample result about 8 to 10 business days to get those back. Manganese, just for information, is not recognized by the federal EPA as a contaminant, but it is by the EPA. And we were notified by letter on November 12th of the violation that was discovered on Monday, November the 8th. Chief Sutton was notified within 5 minutes of receiving the letter, and he took care of notifying Mayor Phelan. And then I, as the village trustee that oversees the water department, was notified within that next week. The violation was a 2-tier violation for exceeding the manganese maximum contaminant level. 2-tier violation requires public notification within 30 days by either hand delivery or mail. And the notice requires specific language set forth by the EPA. This issue with this particular well that caused the violation was rectified on Monday, November the 15th. Groundwater has high levels of manganese naturally. Ways to combat the manganese are treatment and/or blending with other potable water from other wells. And in the letter that we received from the EPA, it states specifically options for returning to compliance. One of those are obtaining a new source of water, which is unreasonable, or the blending of potable water or obtaining the proper permits and installing treatment. So blending potable water is one of their rectification suggestions. The remaining board members were notified via mail on Thursday, December 2nd, before the mailings went out on the 3rd to the public. And the EPA needs to be notified within 10 days of that notice that was issued. Chris is taking care of that. The important things to remember here is that there is not, and there was not, an immediate public health concern. The EPA requires public notice to basically cover themselves. I want to assure the customers and residents of Peoria Heights that we do have challenges with the water system, such as aging water mains, high levels of iron and manganese, but their water has been and continues to be safe for consumption. As I mentioned earlier, we are mandated and we follow strict guidelines and regulations. This just proves that those mandates are checked for compliance. And I appreciate the efforts of the water department and its employees to continue to provide safe water to the residents. Furthermore, I was not going to bring this up, but it's something that I cannot let slide. Let me get my cliff notes out here. There was a couple of concerns that were brought up by one particular trustee, Trustee Weisenberg, via email to me. And I want to address those issues to everybody and specifically to him. Number one, he referred to this as a public health crisis. Let me state again, there was no public health crisis. This was such a crisis that the EPA mailed this notice to us, and it took 4 business days to get to us. They gave us 30 days to notify the public, and they still would allow us to use the water as long as we notified the public every 90 days. So there was no public health crisis. The other issue that I have is he was not happy with how this was handled with his expectations. Frankly, I don't care how you thought this was handled. I don't answer to you. The situation involved the mayor, the village administrator, the water operator for the village, the committee member over the water department, and the village attorney. Other board members, including yourself, have no knowledge in the field. This has to be sent to the public with specific language. So whether you got the information on November the 8th or December the 2nd is irrelevant, because you were going to do nothing with that information. To say and accuse me of knowingly withholding information from the governing body and trying to dictate what is released is absolute ignorance. We have committees on this board for a reason. If you want to know every pothole that is filled in the city or every street that's plowed, Mr. Casey can make that happen. When there's an issue with finance, they don't come to me. They go to Trustee DeVore. When there's an issue with economic development, they go to Trustee Kazam. They don't come to me. So my advice to you is, number one, stay in your lane. Number two, answer your phone. Don't hide behind a keyboard. And number three, don't come to conclusions until you ask questions. Thank you.
All right, so now I got a few things I want to say. Looking through the email I sent you, I don't know if you have a comprehension issue or if you just think you're entitled to your own facts. Never once did I say it was a crisis. I blind copied everyone on this board. Not once did I say it was a health crisis.
Okay.
You're not entitled to your own facts. That is not what I said. Just so everyone, that's clear to everyone. I did not say it was a crisis. I said it was of public health interest. we're required to notify the public because it is of public interest. That's the only thing I said. And do you think it's appropriate that this governing body had less than 24 hours to respond to a notice that was going out to everyone in the village of Peoria Heights? You are not the governing body, okay? Every trustee here I've worked with for quite a while, and when there's stuff that is released to the public that is of high public interest, everyone cares about water. We all know well in advance so that we have time to prepare. Less than 24 hours is not enough information or time. All of us have full-time jobs, okay? You were prepared for it because you knew ahead of time. We had less than 24 hours, okay? You notified us on the 2nd, like at noon. It was on the website at like 8 a.m. in the morning. Less than 24 hours. Do you think that's professionally appropriate for people who also have to answer for the water to have less than 24 hours to prepare a statement to our constituents?
You're not going to prepare a statement. You're going to refer them to me
No,
or
I'm
to
not,
Office of
Dave. I
Superintendent
don't
Chandler.
report to you, and I don't have to refer people to you. Who are you? You're one of 6.
Let's, both of you address your comments to the chair.
Thank you. Mayor, Trustee Marfeld is one of 6 policymakers. One of 6. Trustee Marfeld does not dictate when stuff gets released to the public. He is not he is not the policymaker. He is one of 6. And it lacked professional courtesy that he waited until the very last second to send us the email. If something was going from accounting was going out to everyone, I highly doubt Trustee DeVore would wait 11 hours before it hits the public to inform her fellow trustees. I know she wouldn't because I've worked with her for quite a while. So just to elaborate on some things, you're entitled to your own opinion, Trustee Marfeld, but you're not entitled to your own facts. I did not want to dictate when information was released. I just wanted to know ahead of time that information was going to be released. I did not state it was a public health crisis. Everyone on this board saw those replies. So when you're going to come up here and try to accost me over something, get your facts right, because that's not what I said. Secondly, to Superintendent Chandler, now that I've addressed those, what some people would call fake news, but how long were the levels high? When we took that quarterly test, like it was like from like September to August.
Right.
So from August to November, were they increased during that time?
The tests that were reported, that they required, were at the end of September.
Okay.
They got an average from that, and as Trustee Marfeld stated, it takes 8 to 10 business days to get a return from each sample.
Right.
By the time that they had sent us a letter, we received on the 12th, the issue had already been corrected because I took the sample on the 15th and it was already in compliance. And we have days of water that we have to go through before it goes out. So I couldn't tell you exactly how long, but I know it's quarterly that they test these.
Right.
And there is a reason for it, to keep on top of it.
I agree.
They can let us know, hey, you have a problem, we need to correct it. Unfortunately, we didn't get it corrected by the end of that quarter because it came so late. So I took the sample at the very end of August, but it was 8 to 10 days before we got that one back, and then they needed 3 more in 8 to 10 days on each one. That just shows you how long the process takes.
No, I understand that. But do we know how long? Because the U.S. EPA recommends that infants up to 6 months of age should not be given water with manganese of concentrations above that 0.3.
Right, yes.
Do we know how many days it was elevated?
No, I do not know.
So it could have very well been more than 10.
Yeah, it may have been more than 10, yes.
So when someone says that there is no risk, and the EPA says that infants should not be given it for the more total of 10 days per year, and you're sitting there saying it's not a,
I'm not saying it's not a risk. What I'm saying is...
Yes, you did.
I'm not saying it's not a risk. They're saying long-term risk, yes.
More than 10
It's not an immediate health concern.
It is for long-term
Long-term.
exposure,
I'm
is
just
what they're
reading the
saying.
EPA recommendation that infants of
You're
6
reading
age.
IEPA or US EPA?
The US EPA, they have a non-enforceable guideline, if you will, that, from what I can tell, most state EPAs follow, and that's at 0.3. So I was just curious on how many days was it elevated? That's the only thing I'm asking.
And I think Superintendent Chandler did his best to answer that question. I will compliment him. When he brought this to my attention, he said, I think I know what well it was, and you were spot on in that, but we
Yes.
didn't know. So the focus, and I'll take full responsibility if the communication could have been better. I think it was good. But the focus was on fixing the problem, identifying the problem and fixing it. And when we communicated with you, we wanted to make sure that that communication was accurate, because we are obligated and by law to notify the public and tell them the exact details of what occurred and how we remedied that situation. Is that correct, counsel?
Yes.
So go
That-
ahead, Trustee
yeah.
Weisberg, you still have the floor.
Sorry, but to reinstate what he's saying, we wanted to make sure that we had all the accurate facts
I understand.
to send out to the public. That letter took time to figure out, because we had to have all the facts before we could put them in there.
Right. And
So that would have been a major part of the delay of why you all received that letter. That letter
Right.
was finished and approved the day before you got it.
no, I understand. And
We were not
ju-
sitting on that, I just want to make sure, we were not sitting on that letter and what we are sending to the public for 2 weeks. It was literally a day,
Oh, I understand.
just so you know.
No, I understand, Superintendent Chandler.
And
And I
my-
just want to stress that I'm not criticizing the way you handled it or the way you
I
fixed it.
appreciate that.
I'm criticizing the fact that when this governing body got an EPA violation, its governing body did not know anything about it until less than 24 hours when that notice hit the public. That's what pissed me off. Reviewing my email here, just so I'm pretty sure I wasn't misquoting myself, I never said it was a crisis. My entire point was I was pissed off that,
It's the way that you handled it.
I understand, you can't just insert your own words. Okay, I never said it was a health crisis.
Okay, well, that's how you portrayed it to me, as a health crisis.
I don't care what I portrayed, that's what was in the email.
All right, I'm going
I said it was a health
Okay.
crisis.
Can I say something?
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to direct both of your remarks to the chair.
I apologize.
Please don't repeat yourself. I'm giving you a lot of latitude here. I want you both to have the opportunity to speak on the record, but let's do it
Right.
civilly and professionally. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. Just so I want to stress, Chris, I had no issues with how you handled it. It was just the communication from the government side is really what was disappointing. Because,
I appreciate that.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
I will take responsibility for that. Again, it was in the administrator's hands, and many of you meet with the administrator weekly. Why he didn't update you, I'm not sure, but obviously we know there's other issues that the administrator is going through. He was coming back from work and he was leaving from work, but again, I think his intention was to give you full details when he got them, and we were still in the discovery phase of getting all the information on everything. So, Trustee Weisberg, do you have anything else?
I don't.
I'll go back.
I just want to say in closing, I want to reassure everybody up here and the citizens that if there is a public health concern, crisis that's immediate, there are steps taken that have to be, done. And the other thing is that, if in that email I sent, I have my phone number. If you have questions, please don't come to conclusions. Call me. I'll answer them. My phone's on me 24/7. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Anyone else on this?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. And Trustee Marfell, you actually may be in a good position to answer this question. So regardless if it's Peoria Heights Water Company or if it's, I don't know, American Illinois, both of those people draw their water from the same source. Is that correct?
Yeah, we draw our water from the San Cody Aquifer, which is the biggest aquifer, I believe, in the state of Illinois. Yeah.
So regardless of who is handling the water, the same problem could have existed for whether it would be Peoria Heights water or American Illinois?
Yeah, this is not a equipment issue, this is not an operational issue, this is what's coming from the aquifer.
Okay.
Groundwater is high levels of iron and manganese, and yeah, it could happen to Illinois American, it does happen to Illinois American, I mean, it's common practice.
And so when we said, and Superintendent Chandler, when Trustee Marfeld said the mixing of water sources, essentially what we did is we start pulling from multiple wells to blend it. Is that right?
Correct, that is
Okay.
correct, yeah, so rely less on the well and add other wells with it, so it's a mixture of the water, keeps the manganese down.
Okay.
And I will state, just so everyone knows, we're going to, even though it's quarterly required by the EPA to test for manganese, we're going to start testing for manganese every month. In-house, we can do our own testing through PDC that doesn't have to be required by the EPA, and we're going to do that to try and stay on top of it as much as possible.
So my only concern is all these wells, including Illinois American, are pulling it from the same, I mean, they're sucking the straw from the same
Yes.
Coke.
Literally 100 yards away.
Right. So,
Illinois American's well field is right there,
so
behind ours.
So how does having another straw pulling it up out of the
I-
same Coke give us Pepsi?
Illinois American, I believe, has a filtration process that
right.
we do not have.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the very
That's-
expensive filtration system that filters it as soon as it comes up out of the ground before it goes to storage.
And Trustee Marfeld, when you were water superintendent, that was one thing I believe you brought up at one time. I can't,
Yeah, it's just very pricey, and it's not feasible for the village of our size to be able to afford that at this time. I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, we would have filtration at each well, but that's just, it's not feasible.
Interesting.
I know this is like a really like broad answer, but do you have off like a round park figure number of what it would cost for us to have that kind of filtration?
Well, there are different kind of filtration. There's carbon filters, there's UV filters.
Osmosis?
There's reverse osmosis at a larger scale, obviously, than like a residential. If I had to guess, I'd say probably per well, we have 5 wells?
Yes.
I would guess $1 million a well, probably, you're probably looking at. That's off the top of my head. So you're $5 million. That doesn't include maintenance, and that's just design and build.
And that does require a higher water license as well.
Yes,
So-
good point. Yeah, if you add filtration to your system, right, currently we have Class C license. Any type of filtration goes to a Class B, which would require all employees to take a test and get new certification.
and without getting too far off the EPA topic until you're ready, if you remember, last month, we put out on the street requests for qualifications on a water consultant, so that would be all part of this. What we need to do with our system as far as things that are feasible for us to improve the quality of water, the delivery of water. So all of those things will be, you've already, in my opinion, been proactive. You're already aware that things need to be done. So I believe we'll have those at the December 21st meeting to approve that consultant, correct, Council?
That is correct, Joe. December 17th, I think, is what sticks in my mind, is the response date. So yes, we plan to review those on the 21st.
Trustee Wigginton, I apologize, you still have the floor.
No, that's fine, and I appreciate the thoroughness of your answers, Superintendent Casey and Trustee Marfeld. Nothing further.
I would like to state just one more thing. Our water is, as it always has been, it is definitely safe to drink. This was a situation the EPA notified us of. We corrected it very quickly, and I understand filtration system would be great to have, but just know that it is not required of us to do that. It's just, it would provide another step in the water process. But our water is safe to drink, and it is good water. Just wanted to state that a filtration system is not necessary to go in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other trustees want to weigh in on this? All right, in conclusion, Superintendent Chandler, thank you so much for the way you handled this, and to everyone on the on the water side of Public Works. I really appreciate that. And Trustee Marfell, thank you for overseeing this as well. And Trustee Weisenberg, I will take responsibility, and I'll keep in mind better communication in the future.
Thanks, because that really was the only issue I had with it. I know we'd had a discussion about it as well. And the only thing I was really concerned about was the communication. As Trustee Chandler says, our water is safe to drink. I have a lot of conversations with people constantly about, the brown water and the constant battle between the iron and the manganese. And I know I've had a lot of discussions previously with Trustee Morfill as well. So I always stress that it's safe to eat, not eat, but drink, consume. So I too thank you, Superintendent Chandler.
And it really, to have these two gentlemen overseeing this problem gave me a lot of comfort, because I was I was very concerned when I was informed of this, but having Trustee Marfell with a water license and working for a water company, being the trustee overseeing this, as well as Superintendent Chandler, I had a great deal of comfort, and they've resolved the problem, at least for now. So we'll be talking a whole lot more about water in the future. Trustee Marfell, anything else under public? Anything under miscellaneous?
I do have one thing, Mr. Mayor, and you had called this to our attention at a meeting a few months back. We were having a discussion on bonds, and one of the issues that you had raised personally was whether we could renegotiate or refinance some of the bonds there. So I just wanted to know if there was any update on that.
I see a hand raised over there.
Yes, we have talked with Morton Community Bank, brought in their bond person. There is opportunity to refinance. They call it refunding in the bond world, but it's the same thing as a refinance in a loan world. There is money to be saved. We're getting the numbers together, but I think that it's going to happen. It's just a question of how much we'll save, but there is savings to be had, and that is in process.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, it's December, year-end, banks are kind of busy, but I hope to have an update by the December 21st meeting.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I got one thing, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I was curious on what the board thought about moving to be able to live stream our actual board meetings instead of just record on YouTube and post them on YouTube, if we thought there'd be any benefit to live streaming our board meetings, not the committee meetings, but just the actual board meeting. I know Peoria live streams theirs. I believe the county does as well. So I thought it would be beneficial to help engagement with the constituents if we live streamed our board meetings.
And how much is that going to cost?
Not sure yet. I was working on I would work towards getting some estimates if there was enough interest in it. If there wasn't, then I wasn't going to even try to walk down that path.
I think it's a good idea, and if you would email or speak with the administrator when he's back, can we start there and get some costs and
Sure.
report back with you?
Sure.
Do we know how many views that the YouTube videos get?
I don't know.
Just FYI, I'm just
But
curious.
When I watch the Peoria one, I see that they often have like maybe 40 to 50 people live streaming it. So optimistically, half of that we'd get our live
Let's get some
stream,
information
but I
and some
don't know.
cost and stuff.
I don't know.
in
I
your
just-
mind. Make a note of that too, please.
If
Yes,
you look-
actually.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
If you look, sometimes, like, some of them have, like 311 views. That's from, some of them have more than others, obviously. Our last board meeting had, or the November 16th board meeting had 28. The one before that was 38, 17, 29, 43. I mean, we have quite a few people watching.
Part of Mr. Bailey's job is transparency and communication. Mike, do you have any thoughts on that? And how?
I think that's entirely your call, frankly, on whether people will watch it live. I think as long as you post it in a timely fashion, like the next morning, so that people can see it immediately, or, I mean, more quickly we can get it online, the better, I think. But
We'll revisit that as soon as Dustin's.
if people want to watch it live, they can watch it live. I mean, a very small percentage of the total population places that
Right.
participate. But, you know, in the interest of transparency and good government, I don't think that ever hurt.
Okay,
Just a thought.
good point. Anyone else? All right, just a note, the next meeting has a lot of items on it, so be prepared to stay a while for the meeting that follows this, a regular board meeting. If there's no further business to come before the board, well, I guess I should ask, does any other trustee have anything they want to report on at this time? All right, Trustee Gett,
I move to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're adjourned.